This story begins with a beloved little boy, Tyler Wayne Edmonds, who was born on June 14, 1989 in the United States. Although details of his birth are scarce, we know his parents were Sharon Clay and Danny Edmonds. Shortly after his birth, his parents divorced under contentious circumstances, leading to Danny's estrangement from this part of the story. Accounts vary, but some pages mention allegations of abuse, tension, and arguments, and suggest that Danny fell into dubious company. The exact nature of these events remains unclear, but it is evident that Sharon wanted Danny kept. Sharon's family believed she had compelling reasons for this decision. Despite these challenges, Tyler grew up to be a much-loved and remarkably happy child. He was frequently praised for his intelligence, charm, and innocence. Tyler attended West Point High School, where he was an honor roll student with no history of violence or troublesome associations. Notably, he regularly attended the local church, a detail that many considered significant. Though Tyler had everything he needed, he always felt the absence of his father, a lingering sense of loss. In his life, there was one person who promised him that one day his father would come to love him as well. This person was none other than his older half-sister, Christy Fulham. Christy, who was about 13 years older than Tyler and his half-sister on his father's side, was not someone he saw daily, but Tyler idolized her and looked up to her as a role model. Christy was a role model for Tyler. She was sweet, friendly, and outgoing, with an undeniable charisma. To him, Christy was the best person in the world. Tyler's parents had separated when he was a baby, and he had not seen anyone from his father's side of the family for years. Christy entered his life when he was about 10 or 11. They both came from fractured homes, and this common experience forged a bond between them. Statements from Tyler Edmonds reveal that Christy would sometimes take him to see their father behind Sharon's back. This gesture was immensely important to Tyler. Christy would prioritize him over her own family, making the effort to pick him up and take him to visit their father, sharing stories about Danny and the family. Tyler was thrilled by these visits. To illustrate his affection, Tyler once wrote in a school essay that he loved his sister more than himself. However, Tyler was unaware that no one truly trusted Christy. Sharon took every precaution to ensure Tyler was never alone with her. Christy would often cut off calls abruptly, a behavior Tyler did not understand, but Sharon had strong reasons. In 2003, Christy was 27 years old and married to Joseph Thomas Fulham, commonly known as Joey. They had 3 children and appeared to have a perfect marriage. Joey was deeply in love with Christy, and they often engaged in family activities such as walks and dining out. While Joey worked and Christy managed the household, the reality of their marriage was far from ideal. Despite her public image as a devoted mother and loving wife, Christy was known to be a mean and incredibly manipulative person. Her apparent sweetness and dedication were merely a facade. Christy spent minimal time with her children and had numerous affairs, which Joey was aware of. What was even worse was that Christy manipulated Joey into feeling guilty for her infidelities, convincing him that his lack of affection and care was the reason for her betrayal. Furthermore, Christy squandered Joey's money on partying, frequenting bars and nightclubs, while Joey remained at home caring for their children. This situation was well known, not just in Starkville but across the United States, especially after the couple aired their issues on a television program, specifically The Montel Williams Show. At that time, they had been married for 5 years. On national television, Christy admitted that their 3rd child was not Joey's biological child, although Joey accepted the child as his own. Christy's behavior, on camera cold, manipulative, and calculating, was striking, and the entire nation witnessed it. People who knew her before and after the show understood that Christy was so adept at manipulation that she could extract whatever she wanted from others without them even realizing it. Tyler, her younger brother, was no exception. He was essentially a puppet for Christy, brainwashed into seeing her as a wonderful, adoring sister who wished only the best for him, while in reality, she had spent years exploiting and manipulating him to sacrifice his own well-being for her benefit. But what exactly was Christy seeking, and how could a 13-year-old boy contribute to her plans? On Saturday, May 10, 2003, Joey Fulham had planned to attend an air show with his brother and his brother's wife. The plan was perfectly suited to Joey's interests, but when the time arrived, he did not show up. Neither could he be reached by phone. Initially, they thought perhaps Joey was unwell or had encountered some problem, possibly even an argument with Christy, which seemed like the most plausible explanation. As hours passed with no contact, concern grew. The following day, Sunday, May 11, was Mother's Day. Joey was known for always visiting his mother on this day, bringing with him a large bouquet of flowers. However, this time, he did not appear. His brother, fearing the worst, went to Joey's house, rang the doorbell, and finding no response, used the spare key to enter. They searched every corner of the house and eventually reached the master bedroom, where they found Joey lying face down, sound asleep. They called his name and touched his feet, but he did not respond. It was then they realized he was lifeless. Joey had a bullet wound in the back of his head. The police were immediately contacted. Upon arrival, the officers observed 3 crucial details. First, Joey's death was executed in a professional manner. He had been shot from behind while completely asleep. Second, the body had not been moved after the shooting. He had been left in place. Third, and importantly, there was no blood spatter at the scene. The shot had been clean, and unless one approached closely, the presence of his death would not have been apparent. It was not immediately apparent that Joey was dead. He lay on clean sheets without pools of blood or spatter, making it difficult to detect his condition unless someone came close. These 3 details, no visible blood, a clean scene, and the execution-style shot, were crucial. The police began by questioning the 2 witnesses, Joey's brother, Shannon, and his wife, Kimberly. They learned that Joey had not shown up for the planned air show on Saturday and had not appeared at any point during the day. His absence continued on Sunday, which was Mother's Day, a day he was always known to spend with his mother, bringing flowers. Further investigation revealed that Christy Fulham Shannon was already a suspect. Shannon described Christy as manipulative, unfaithful, and a bad person, and was convinced that she was behind the murder. Consequently, the police began searching for Christy, who was at the time in Little Rock, Mississippi, near her mother's house. A patrol car was dispatched to bring her in. Christy's reaction upon being found was one of apparent sadness. She cried and seemed genuinely perplexed, insisting that she did not understand what had happened and that Joey had no enemies. However, as hours passed, the circumstantial evidence that same night, Christy was taken to the sheriff's office in Starkville for interrogation. The police were aware that Joey Fulham had life insurance, and if he died, Christy would inherit the entire sum. They knew about the affairs, the lies, and Christy's manipulative behavior. Despite this, Christy maintained her innocence, claiming that the real culprit was someone else. She stated that on the afternoon of Friday, May 9, she had confided in her 13-year-old brother about her troubles, including her allegations that Joey was an abuser. Christy accused Joey of being abusive, a bad father, and an alcoholic. Tyler, consumed by anger, took a rifle and, while Joey was asleep, shot him. With this accusation, the police set out to find Tyler. They first called him in, and he went with his mother. At a certain point, they separated them. The mother went to one room and Tyler to another. Tyler was then interrogated without the presence of a legal guardian or lawyer, only 2 agents and a camera. The boy appeared terrified and horrified, unable to comprehend the situation. During the interrogation, he was questioned about what happened at Christy's house, but Tyler was confused, stuttering and speaking quietly. They informed him that Christy had accused him of killing Joey, which shocked Tyler. He vehemently denied the accusation, insisting he hadn't done anything. However, when his sister was brought in to speak with him, the sight of her in prison attire, orange jumpsuit, and shackles was deeply distressing. Christy approached Tyler, took his hand, and urged him to tell the truth. Shortly after she left, Tyler confessed to the crime. He admitted that in the early hours of Saturday, May 10, he and Christy had killed Joey. Christy had given him the rifle and instructed him to shoot, but he was too frightened and felt in. Christy then placed his hands on the rifle and, with her own hands over his, pulled the trigger. When asked how he knew the details of the shooting, Tyler's confession aligned precisely with what the police had been seeking. Despite the differences in the versions of events, this confession provided the crucial evidence they needed. Christy claimed that Tyler was the primary culprit, and the issue of blood spatter did not align with her version of events. The crucial point was that they had two suspects, and for the authorities, the case was considered closed. Joey Fulham and Tyler Edmonds were arrested and charged with capital murder for Joey Fulham's death. Christy different potential sentences. Christy was facing the death penalty, while Tyler was looking at life imprisonment. This disparity was due to the differing accounts they provided. There were numerous witnesses who testified to Christy's unfaithfulness, her dissatisfaction with Joey, and her motive related to the life insurance policy, which she stood to inherit. On the other hand, although Tyler was involved, he had not planned the nature of the crime was heinous, so both were held accountable. 3 days after his initial confession, Tyler attempted to recant his statement. He went to the police station and, in front of the cameras, claimed he had lied on Christy's behalf because she had asked him to. Tyler stated that on Friday, he had stayed at Christy's house, and on Saturday morning, she had taken him back to his own house. While he was playing with the radio and having fun with the other children, he suddenly heard a gunshot. Moments later, Christy emerged from the house and informed him that Joey was dead. She then asked Tyler to tell the police that he was involved as well, in hopes that this would prevent her from facing the electric chair. Christy convinced Tyler that confessing to the crime would lead to a lesser punishment for him and, ultimately, save her. She convinced him that confessing to the crime to protect her was a noble act. Tyler, who viewed Christy as the best person he knew, was swayed by her manipulation and did not see her as a villain. However, when he recanted his confession, the police did not believe him, and his second confession was disregarded. The trial against Tyler Wayne Edmonds began on July 20, 2004, and was highly controversial from the outset. It was unusual for a 13-year-old to be involved in such a grave crime, and the entire nation followed the case closely through television and radio coverage. Tyler's defense attorney, Jim White, faced the challenging task of proving that Tyler was never at the crime scene, never touched the rifle, and had not fired it. Jim's goal was to demonstrate that Tyler's initial confession was a fabrication under duress. However, Jim uncovered a troubling reality. The jury was determined not to consider Tyler's second confession. They deemed only the first confession valid and dismissed the second as false. The defense was also unable to present evidence of Christy's manipulative behavior or the program she appeared on, which could have supported their case. Despite Jim's efforts, the jury's stance on the confessions and their reluctance to acknowledge Christy's manipulation significantly hindered the defense's case. Christy's manipulative tactics could not even be mentioned in court, and the situation was further complicated by the state's reliance on Dr. Stephen Haye, a supposedly highly respected pathologist. Dr. claimed that the bullet trajectory indicated there were 2 sets of hands on the rifle, implying that both Tyler and Christy had been involved in Joey's murder. This assertion was highly criticized as Dr. did not examine the crime scene or the evidence thoroughly. Despite this, the jury accepted his testimony. On July 24, 2004, at the age of 15, Tyler was sentenced to life imprisonment. Immediately following the verdict, Tyler's lawyer promised to exhaust all avenues to secure a new trial. Tyler was sent to the Walnut Grove Correctional Facility, the largest juvenile detention center in the United States. According to Tyler, he was placed in a padded cell with no bathroom or mattress, just a concrete space on the floor. He felt that the death penalty would have been preferable to such a harsh and isolating environment. During her visits, Tyler's mother, Sharon, was heartbroken. She saw her son's distress and pleaded for his release, knowing he was innocent. Despite her efforts, she could not overturn the jury's decision or sway public opinion, which remained convinced of Tyler's guilt. Meanwhile, Christy's trial was approaching, and it was time to uncover the truth about her role in the crime. There was substantial circumstantial evidence, including documents and witness testimonies. Among these witnesses was Patricia Green, a jailer with the Sheriff's Department, who would provide crucial testimony. In May 2003, After Tyler and Christy were arrested, Patricia Green, a jailer for the sheriff's department, had a conversation with Christy in jail that turned out to be very revealing. Christy, through a window, asked Patricia if she could deliver a letter she had written to Tyler. Patricia explained that she couldn't, but Christy insisted on the importance of the message. Eventually, Patricia accepted and took the note, reading its contents with a colleague. The letter read, "Tyler, I know you are scared, but you can't say what they are telling you to say. It's a trick. We need to make them understand that this was an accident. We can both get out of this if we make them understand that it was an accident. You know we didn't plan it. You know we didn't mean to kill Joey. Tell them accident. They can't send me to the electric chair for an accident. Don't you see? If you say what they want you to say, then you will be accused of murder and you will go to jail. I also think that it's not just your life but mine as well. I am all you have. Don't listen to what your father says. He doesn't love you. I love you. Listen to me. This will work out for the best. I love you so much. Everyone else will say, I planned it because you were there. If you say what mommy told you, you will go to jail for 15 years. Oh, but that's a long time. You will be here for a long time. If you tell them it was intentional." That Christy interpreted in two ways. First, that Christy is genuinely concerned for her brother. Second, that she is manipulating him. Manipulating him into believing he would face a long prison sentence. Christy's actions added a new twist to the story. Despite the manipulation, on December 9, 2006, Christy was sentenced to death. After the verdict was announced, Joey Ann Cash's mother expressed her relief. "I am very happy that this is over and that justice has finally been served. The jury's deliberation was quicker than I expected. The district attorneys did a fantastic job, and I congratulate them. Joey can now rest in peace, and I will pray that I will be able to forgive Christy someday." Those who knew Tyler were convinced of his innocence. He was remembered as a sweet, attentive boy devoted to his family and adoring his sister. On the other hand, Christy was seen as a complete monster, but unfortunately, the court refused to grant a second trial. Jim W., Tyler's attorney, refused to give up. He was certain of Tyler's innocence, and in 2007, he managed to have the case reevaluated. In January, the court issued a unanimous decision overturning Tyler Edmonds' conviction. One reason cited was that the forensic pathologist's testimony was outside his area of expertise. The pathologist was not certified in the relevant field, and the court acknowledged that his conclusions, which claimed that two people were holding the rifle, did not make sense. The claim that two sets of hands were involved in the crime made no sense, and the court was now admitting it. However, a disturbing development emerged. Justice was offering Tyler a deal. If he admitted guilt, he would be released in a few months. If he refused, he would face a trial and could spend the rest of his life in prison. Despite this, Tyler chose to go to trial. The new trial began on October 28, 2008. The central issue was whether the first confession was false and the second was truthful. Christy was called to testify, but instead of confessing that her brother had done nothing wrong, she took a different approach. In this second trial, Jim presented Joey Fulham as a complete manipulator. He brought in friends, family members, and a recording of the television program featuring Christy and Joey. Additionally, a police officer testified that between March and April 2003, authorities inquired about Joey's life insurance policy, specifically asking about the beneficiary. The officer noted that the authorities had to ask Joey directly, not in May, coinciding with Joey's death. Suspicions pointed more towards Christy than Tyler. A crucial witness was Danny Edmonds, Christy and Tyler's father. He testified before the jury that Christy had come to his house and threatened to kill Joey. He asked for a gun and bullets, but Danny refused, telling him that death wouldn't solve anything. If Christy no longer loved Joey, she should just leave him. Christy, however, was focused on the life insurance policy and promised that if Danny helped her, she would buy him a new Cadillac. Everything pointed to Christy being the primary culprit. But the prosecution brought up Tyler's first confession again. Tyler's initial confession was played for 32 minutes in court, during which the terrified boy spoke extensively. His mother asked him again about the confession, and in front of her, Tyler repeated that he had killed Joey. For those 32 minutes, he maintained his guilt. The defense wanted to call Dr. Allison Redlick, an expert in false confessions, to testify. However, this request was denied. Despite this, there was something telling about the confession. Although it seemed very real, it was not as genuine as it appeared. Forensic pathologist James Lauritsen testified that the weapon used to kill Joey did not produce spatter. The scene was very clean. Thus, Tyler Edmonds could not have been at the scene of the crime. During the trial, Tyler's second confession was in it. The 13-year-old recounted how Christy had manipulated him, how she made him lie, and crucially, how she had instructed him to tell the truth when the police questioned him, but to lie when she gave him a signal. The defense argued that Christy had a specific signal for Tyler to lie, though Tyler did not know what it would be. He mentioned that he had agreed to take the blame, but he hadn't anticipated the reality of the situation. It's easy to talk about something in theory, especially as a child with an active imagination, but understanding the reality of such serious matters is another thing entirely. Miraculously, Tyler Edmonds was acquitted. As he walked out of the courtroom, he was surrounded by dozens of cameras and was in tears, emotionally overwhelmed and unable to speak clearly. He was incredibly relieved. However, as the years passed, he found that he could no longer stay at home with his mother or remain in Mississippi. He feared that he would forever be remembered as the 13-year-old sentenced to life in prison. He packed his bags and first went to Arizona and then to Florida. There, he completely rebuilt his life. The best part is that people know him for who he is now. His friends know him as Tyler, not as the 13-year-old who went to prison. That's a form of emotional freedom he feels he could never achieve in Mississippi. As for Christy Fulham, on November 22, 2010, her initial sentence was overturned and changed to life imprisonment. The only communication Tyler received from her was a letter in 2008 in which she asked for forgiveness but didn't speak. She only offered a vague apology. Tyler doubts her sincerity and feels that she isn't genuinely remorseful. So, what do you think about this case? Do you believe Christy is truly sorry for her actions? That's it for today's video. I hope you found this case interesting. If you did, please leave a like and a comment below. I'd really appreciate it. See you in the next video. Bye.